Where is this app? Just gonna get started. Alright, Mashaykh on straight away. We got Ahlul in the house. Alright. Alaikum salam. Dawood Ahmed. Bilal. Khalid Tai. Ahlan wa sahlan. I'm just trying to share this video first of all. Just to get this shared. Just un momento. Alright, so almost done. Alright, so ahlan wa sahlan. Inna alhamdulillah wa kafah. Wa salatu wa salam ala rasulih al-Mustafa. Wa ala ibadihi alladhina irtada. Wa man bihudahum ihtada. وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فسلام الله على القوم وأهلا وسهلا بكم. People, welcome, खुश आमदीद, bienvenidos a todos, and सबको स्वागत हो. I couldn't stop. Sorry, somebody just posted a question. Cracked me up. Right, so Ahlan wa sahlan, people. Ahlan wa sahlan. Right, tuning in. Whilst you're tuning in, people, feel free to, wa alaikum assalam, Fakhri, to like and click share on the live feed to get it out there, to allow others to benefit. And feel free to post your questions below. I'll get to them, insha'Allah ta'ala. So, whoa, people, what another week. Yes, salam. It's been an interesting week. As always, there's some fitan fasad. What can I rest this on? Yes, salam. Just when I almost... My Oxford English Hindi dictionary is the perfect solution for this samasya. Okay, where can I put my glass? Acha. Asam ji, ahlan wa sahlan. Ustad Hassan Shibli, ahlan wa sahlan. Tasharrafna. And I hope things are going well with you over there against some of those Islamophobes. Yassar Allah. Right, people, we've had a hell of a lot of questions come through. Ustad Yasin, ahlan wa sahlan. I'll try to go through some of those questions. I'll fluctuate back forth, some that we've already received on my post, and others which you guys just feel free to ask straight away. Momo, ahlan wa sahlan. Momo, all the way joining us from Cairo. Right, so from Al-Azhar and Mu'adh, ahlan wa sahlan. People, these are some of our fresh students that have gone over there to study, to bring back the knowledge, or I could say to bring back the fitan and fasad. Right, so the new range, Nate, following my Snapchat. Right, so people, feet in bed facing east, Qibla. Okay, deal with feet in bed. Okay, facing Qibla, facing east. Like, what are you supposed, like, if your bed is facing east, are you supposed to be like that with your feet then? You know, in the subcontinent they have this concept of the chorel, the kind of like I mean, I don't know what to call it really. The chorel is a kind of like these evil spirits that lurk around swamps, and they have like long hair and like something out of those kind of exorcist movies, except their feet are backwards. So the one way to avoid your feet pointing towards Qibla is become a churel. Right, so there's nothing wrong with having your feet point towards the Qibla. Okay, that's nothing but Indo-Pak kind of Indo-Pak, just culture gone out of control. Churel is like Katie Hopkins. It is actually, it is. They're called shaman. Okay, well, how far can one criticize Muawiyah radiallahu an? Whoa, what a question to start off with. Yes, salam. I was hoping we were going to get something simple to kind of start off with, but I've got a detailed video on YouTube about Muawiyah radiallahu an and the impermissibility, not just Muawiyah, but any companion to criticize them like that. And it's not about, it's not about sometimes being, you see, because on one hand, people might say, well, is that a contradiction? That, you're somebody who promotes regularly, generally, you promote critical thought. Why not towards the Sahaba? It's not that I have an issue with being kind of objectively critical towards people, objectively, but it's the fact that what good is there to come out of this? So when you are critical to masail, to issues, you may reinvestigate them and come up with alternative views or things like this. But when you are only criticizing, the sole objective is to criticize a person who's lived and died, there's no khair that can come out of that. Okay? So let's move on. Mudathir, ahlan wa sahlan, and balle balle. Right, so let's take another question. Right, somebody asked about Yazid. I've answered that previously. I don't want to really go into that. It's the same whole... I really prefer not getting into these sectarian kind of the whole discourse, if that's okay. We've got many other questions today, so we don't really need to preoccupy ourselves with that. Let's go to some of these questions. Right, so I'll take a look here as well. Ahlan wa sahlan, those of you just joining in, if you'd click like and share, so let other people join in and post your questions below. Is it true that Sayyidina Ali had supernatural powers and took on armies by himself and lifted the fortress door of Khaybar and used it as a shield? I'm not sure if all of those things are entirely true like that, but Sayyidina Ali was an incredibly strong person, incredibly brave, courageous and strong as well. For he was strong, there's unquestionably that is true. Ustad Daniel Hernandez, ahlan wa sahlan, bienvenidos. Right, so I tuned into your other thing where you were spitting some Latino bars. doing it. Right, so that's why, coming back to the question, but Sayyidina Ali radiallahu an was an amazing personality in terms of strength. Naturally, within Islam, sometimes you might get hyperbolic statements, people saying they did this and, so and so, these Imams did this and these scholars forever kept their wudu and they, never went to the toilet or never did anything. I mean, obviously these things are sometimes hyperbolic. We need to accept that, but it doesn't take away from them being great people. Right, so where did you learn? I'm still learning. I'm still studying Espanol. Right, so Salam Muhammad Shaban Alaikum Kama Sutra. Look at Khalid Hussein asking a nutty question. Is Kama Sutra permissible? I suppose this is Q&A live and unrestricted. I mean, of course, any and all of these things are permitted. It's not that these things are not permissible. It's obviously in your own privacy, anything, as Imam Malik's teacher said, he said, once you close the doors, it's all fair game. When he advised his nephew, he said, that was Abu Zinad with the dal at the end, just in case you're wondering. Right, so he said, إِذَا خَلَوْتَ بِأَهْلِكَ فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. Do whatever you want. Imam Zubair Yusuf Zai, Ahlan wa Sahlan, Tasharrafna. Right, let's take some of the questions. Yep, so there's no such thing like restrictions on stuff like that. Right, let's get to some other questions then. What are some other questions coming through, people? How does one get a... Did you stop other women looking at you? Well, at least she's feeding you. Feeding you well, I take it. I think I discovered you via BBC Asian Network, your interview and interesting answers. Oh, right. Okay, that's interesting. Muhammad William Saleh, Ahlan wa Sahlan. Your shirt is too tight. Sorry. I need to stop... I need to stop shopping in the kids section, I take it. That's the... Let's go to some of these questions, man. What is going down here? Whoa! Look at this, people jumping straight in. Is fantasizing halal? What is happening to people? Ya salam. Right, so, look. People, any and all, these things are... We need to stop trying to police these things. Of course, anything, these kind of matters... Look, don't worry about it, okay? Just be natural. Okay, that's the key thing, as long as you remain natural. We have to understand that all things by default, within usul, there is a very clear principle. Some of the usuliyin refer to it as istishab or istishabul hal, which is the law of defaults. And that is the overwhelming law of defaults, is that all things are permissible unless proven otherwise. So with these things too, just take them natural, don't worry about it. And it's, to be fair, okay, from one aspect this could be interesting, because this question about people using their imagination, fantasizing, it's a natural phenomenon, and it would have happened right throughout humanity. So, you know, but we don't have any texts or religious scripture to say this is wrong, and I don't think there would ever be any script. Istishab is spelt with a sad, istishabul hal. The thing is that I don't think there would be ever any scripture to prohibit stuff like that, because it's at an intentional level. And the Sharia was not here to police our thoughts like that. It just simply, it gives us a kind of benchmark to aim for in terms of having higher morals and things like this, but it doesn't try to... it's not like Big Brother in that sense, that kind of Orwellian kind of monitoring and totalitarian view towards people's thoughts. Just to clarify, so even if people, for example, at a mental level are plotting something wrong or bad, or they want to cause some harm, and in the hadith it says, "Man hamma bi sayyi'atin." So whosoever plans this, concerns himself with doing something wrong, فَلَمْ يَعْمَلْ بِهَا, but he didn't conduct it or carry it out, that كُتِبَتْ لَهُ حَسَنًا. Okay, that a person gets a good deed for not doing that. And that's the hadith. Whereas if you plan something good, but you don't carry it out, still, from the mercy of Allah, you still get a kind of good deed written for you. Okay? So, right, does Islam recognize a concept like the chakras, or any link with the chakras in our body? Jazakallah khair. Right, okay, I don't know too much about the chakras. I'm aware that there's, once again, I could be wrong, but I thought there were 7 chakras or something in the point. I could be wrong on this, but there's certain points that give off, you see, because it has its roots in Hinduism, so it's not, they don't necessarily deal with energy in Hinduism, but still it's meant to have some kind of like a well-being effect. I think they could, I don't know, I mean, maybe there's certain truths to things like this that, you know, you see, I mean, there's a human beings, we are a physiology, we are a psychology, and above that as well, we are in essence, I mean, okay, this is going a bit, I'm going a bit mystical, not that I'm a very mystical person, but I suppose in essence, we are, everything in essence is energy. So that's an interesting thought, because, you know, I read this on Facebook, this t-shirt which said, "You matter." You matter, unless you're traveling at the speed of light, in which case you energy. So the thing is that, look, you've got, so we are at a very, all solids are simply a perception. There's a lot of movement going on. There's atoms at a subatomic level. So I suppose, do things feel vibes and interact and stuff like this? Perhaps. Right, so, okay, let's move on to the next question. Some Salafis say they are haram haircuts. To what extent is this true? Some Salafis love to make up their own rules, i.e. women not being able to drive. Right. Majid is there. We built your shelves for you. All right, Majid. Ahlan wa sahlan. People, that's Majid. To be fair, they do excellent stuff like shelves. I know I've had a few ulama ask me in the past, or you can reach out to him right there. That's him right there, and he'll inshallah hook you up. Right, so are haircuts haram? You see, there's no such thing as a haram haircut. Okay, we need to clarify that. There is no such thing as a haram haircut, regardless of whatever somebody is telling you. Right, now, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a hadith, he discouraged. It depends how you read it. They may read that as forbade, but in my understanding, discouraged qaza, not because of qaza per se. Qaza was, the definition of qaza is patchy, kind of having patchy kind of hair left. So you've got, and qaza is taken from the word which was referring to clouds. It was also used to refer to clouds. And so, and in the incident, the Prophet saw a child, and the child had, according to different narrations, in some narrations he just had like a braid and the rest of his hair all shaved off. Or in some narrations he had hair, but he had the center kind of thing shaved off, the way the Christian monks would do stuff like that. And so the Prophet said, what is this? Ihlek kullahu wa witruk kullahu. That shave it all or leave it all. Like, you have to understand that where the Prophet was coming from. What the Prophet wasn't doing. Okay, let's get this straight. What the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not doing was setting hairstyle trends. Otherwise, he could have just sat everybody down and said, all right, people, I'm going to teach you how to have hairstyles. That's not what he was doing. What he was doing is simply saying that, look, why are you distorting this child's hair? Like, that's wrong, what you're doing to the child. And secondly, the second layer to that was he was making a distinction that we shouldn't resemble people like monks of other faiths. That we now have a strong, secure identity as Muslims. We don't need to. And there's a very interesting hadith that is in the Ahkam al-Wusta, right? So so the Ahkam al-Wusta, which I actually just recently got a copy of, by Abdul Haq al-Ishbili. Now, in that, he brings a hadith which is very interesting about when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam first went to Medina. when he first went, that before he went, that his hairstyle, like when he was in Mecca, used to be one of pushing his hair back. And a lot of Arabs would do that. And the hadith mentions when he was about to migrate, he started to resemble how the Jewish people would do it. So the Jewish people used to have a style of parting their hair. So the Prophet began to part his hair. And you see this in several other practices too, that the Prophet ﷺ starts to draw a kind of similarity and a bridge between the faithful and the people of the book, and starts to imitate them in certain things, to kind of draw closer to them. So as an example, this is before the migration, like maybe a year or two before this starts. So you start to see things like the Qibla. The Prophet changes the Qibla to the Qibla of the Jews, Bayt al-Maqdis, Jerusalem. And then you'll see, as an example, the Prophet, his own style, he starts to resemble them. And when they move to Medina, the Prophet advises to take certain practices of worship and rituals similar to them. So why don't we fast on Ashura? Since they're doing it, why don't we do this? So there's this kind of connection that is drawn, because the Muslims are at such an early stage of identity that they need scaffolding. They're not actually so stable at that stage to be kind of left. They can't kind of walk independently. They need like kind of crutches as an identity. So within the following years, the Muslim identity stabilizes. And Abdul Haq al-Ishbili transmits in the hadith that how afterwards, within several years, within Medina, the Prophet then goes back to his natural hairstyle. And that's interesting because it shows that, you see, first, a lot of the hadith, the Prophet is always emphasizing, be different to the mushrikeen, to the idolatry people, be different to the polytheists, be different to them, and resemble Yahud wa Nasara. But later on, the Prophet ﷺ starts to say, Khaliful Yahuda wa Nasara, that be different to them now, because we are now stable as an identity. We no longer need this kind of scaffolding around us. We no longer need these kind of crutches to walk as a sociological entity. We are stable. So, yeah, I mean, things like this as well, the hair, it's a part of not resembling them. So no haircut is haram. And what seems to have developed in recent times is this understanding that all hair should be of the same length, which I've highlighted on so many occasions is as absurd as you can imagine, because nobody's hair can all be of the same length. That's ridiculous. That's absurd. This hair from the sideburns can't be the same as this hair which falls to the back. You can't have like that kind of length hair kind of falling out of here and this kind of... Obviously, it must be of varying lengths. So that's just absurd. And why is it that Muslims are not allowed to have hairstyles? Why do we have to be... Why do we... That's just so unfair. That's just like adding insult to injury. Right, Muslims are supposed to chill in this world as well. Why are we not supposed to? Allah says in the Quran, قُلْ مَنْ حَرَّمَ زِينَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي أَخْرَجَ لِعِبَادِهِ. Tell me who has made that which Allah has, the adornment which Allah has brought out for His people, who has made it haram? This is a verse of the Quran I give you people, a verse of the Quran. Let's move on to the next question. Is boxing allowed? Yes, boxing is allowed. That's absolutely fine, Tab. It's not a problem. Need to copy the mushriks. How far do Muslims need to copy? No, we don't need to copy. I think somebody misunderstood me. We do not need to copy any mushriks or anything. So I'm not saying that at all. Talking about hair, will you ever do a Monday night without doing your hair? Without doing my hair? You know, it doesn't take me long to do that. Seriously, all I do is I just put some gel on and I go like this. That's it. and it just spikes up. I did try growing my hair once, and I mean I grew it long many years back, but I tried growing it, actually, was it last year? And I realized what a headache. Having long hair is a nightmare. Oh my God, it takes forever to do your hair. I was like, I can't be spending time like that doing my hair. Having just spiky hair, short hair is just so much easier. Right, so, okay, next question. Can a Muslim eat at a Catholic house? Suleiman Khan. Alright, Suleiman. Right, so the thing is, can you eat from a Catholic's house? You can, provided they meet, that they have some ihtimam. That they have some, by ihtimam I mean some adherence regarding food and stuff to their faith. You see, the thing is that I suppose I would be, if you knew very clearly, if you didn't know, I think it would be okay. I think if you knew very clearly that this person doesn't really care about religion and they just make anything, they just make pork, they make this, they make that, then like that you can't eat anything. But if you had some idea that they did abide by their kind of faith in that sense, even if it's not the way we understand the faith, but that's fine then. But you see, in my understanding, the reason halal, what it does is it creates an identity, a social identity that Muslims all worldwide kind of share. Salam, Mufti, I wanted to know, was Imam Ahmad an anthropomorphic? Whoa! Talk about taking out the Imams. Ahmad Khan just tried to do a drive-by on Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal radiallahu an. You see, I think it's unquestionable that some Hanbalis were anthropomorphic in that sense, that not that they're true, but they some actually presented a very anthropomorphic view, and I think they were a minority. Majority of them present, the Hanbali Aqidah presents an anthropomorphized. It's not actually like they don't say that that's what we believe, but they end up kind of alluding to God having all these body parts, and they attribute this to the belief, the creed of Imam Ahmad. Do I believe Imam Ahmad actually had that creed? I would like to believe that he didn't. That's what I generally would, that's what I go. I mean, the Hanbalis would disagree, and they would push that he did have their views are from Imam Ahmad, and that's why they call it the Hanbali Aqidah. I hope, I mean, I'm not obviously fond of that kind of Aqidah, so I would like to say that he didn't, but I mean, they would obviously disagree with me. Right, so, but just to clarify what we mean by that, since I've said it now, what we mean by that is they say God has body parts without saying he has a body. So they say he doesn't have a body, but he has body parts. So God has, according to the Hanbali Aqidah, the Hanbali theology, which is today the Salafi theology, God has two right hands. He has one leg, one shin. He has a back, according to some of them. He has a face. He laughs. He has two eyes. I don't know. I think some of them even said he had teeth. But they say he has, on his hands, he has two fingers, I think. and he moves. I mean, this is going to offend a lot of people now. Then I'm going to get blacklisted. Hey, don't shoot the messenger. I'm only saying what's in the Aqidah books of the Hanabila. So, but then they will say, but all of these things without, but they'll say don't imagine them. It's a bit late now, bruv. Oh, you should have told me that before. No point telling me not to imagine now. You've got no idea what I can imagine. This thing in here es muy loco. It has no kind of restraints on it. So So anyway, right, so that's now the difference is that this is the Hanbali Aqidah, but was Imam Ahmad of that Aqidah? I can't really say that he was. They will generally feel that he was. I would like to believe that he wasn't, but Allahu A'lam. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Yeah, unfortunately, that is kind of true what I was saying. I know it sounds funny. But this is the issue, you see. Look, this is the issue. People, you can believe whatever you want, but this kind of faith won't stand up in the 21st century in the face of kind of critical thought, because it will be decimated. Because faith in the 21st century is being strongly tested. And in order to be able to hold on, it has to be kind of bulletproof. This kind of faith will just be ridiculed. I mean, you can have it. Look, people can believe that. I'll respect you, and I disagree. Look, okay, I agree that you can laugh. Okay, people might disagree with me on this, but I believe you can laugh at concepts. It's not haram. I believe that, but you shouldn't laugh at people. Okay, as in, okay, you can laugh at people as a joke, but I mean, you shouldn't pick on people, but you can kind of pick on ideas. There's no problem in picking on ideas. Okay, so that's, I feel there is no issue with that. But that said, what the purpose of me saying this is, in this day and age, people will criticize and scrutinize and put under a mega microscope faith. And unless it can stand the test of scrutiny, it will fall apart for many people. So, Mushin, shukran. Right, so I hope that, and I'm not trying to, when I say this kind of stuff, I'm not trying to offend. I know it will offend people, but I'm not trying to do that. Tahir Mahmoud, ahlan wa sahlan. Those of you just tuning in, people, click like and share the live feed, get it out there, let others tune in, inshallah. Don't worry about it. No need to be embarrassed. Tell me, do I embarrass you? Is that people saying, don't be crazy, I can't share his live feed. How will I ever face humanity again? Then you could just share it with a question mark, I guess, like, what's this guy on about? Right, anyway, let's move on. Kaiser Sosei, ahlan wa sahlan. We got some academics in the house, people. Why do scholars say that picking and choosing opinions is like fatwa shopping and it's haram in Islam? I don't think, look, it's definitely not haram, and I've got a short video. If you Google it or YouTube it, it's right, if you YouTube it, it's when I was with Sheikh Akram Nadwi, and we spoke on the matter of can somebody adopt opinions of ease to make life easy for themselves? Can they do that? And the answer is absolutely you can. And the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Musnad of Ahmad is inna khayra dinikum aysaruh, inna khayra dinikum aysaruh, inna khayra dinikum aysaruh. That the best of your deen is that of most ease. And in a hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, the Prophet, Aisha said, Ma khuyyira bayna amrayn. Prophet was never given two choices, illa ikhtara aysarahuma. And one could argue that it is from the methodology of the Prophet that we choose ease. Allah, people, from the methodology of the Prophet that we choose ease. Okay, so ease, there's no harm. This is, as I hashtag it all the time, hashtag, I'm not doing the crucifix. Damn, I've just given some proper video bait for some people, for some haters. They're going to be like, Astaghfirullah, Mufti just did the crucifix. Astaghfirullah. Well, bro, I'm doing it as a hashtag. Look, I'm doubling down. Hashtag. Hashtag. So the thing is that the hashtag is Deen of Ease, okay? Deen of mercy, not mercenaries. Okay, so let's take some other questions. And we shouldn't be so insecure about our faith, by the way. You know, by doing little things, you don't become a kafir. I'm just saying. You know, people get so scared. Oh my God, I've become a kafir. Oh my God, I've become a kafir. Relax. I mean, you know, it's not something that, you know, I'm sure you can hold on to your wudu longer than that. It's not that weak, this iman. So I think just to clarify, it's fine. People don't need to freak out just in case you do anything and you think, oh my God, have I become a kafir? You don't become kafirs that quickly. Right, view of istikhara. Istikhara, right? Why would somebody follow a madhhab? I've actually answered that in much detail. Mahwish Busha Khan started listening to lecture detail. Well, shukran Mahwish. Right, so how do you become a kafar? Well, don't worry, the way you're going, you're gonna get there. that would be funny. Right, so coming back to the point, why should somebody follow a madhhab? You see, to learn Islam is centered pretty much, a lot of Islam is all about rulings. It's all about trying to understand rulings and stuff like this. And I had an interesting discussion with a close friend of mine who I call Sheikh al-Qawm. Hashtag, those who know. And so we're having this interesting discussion, and he said something which got me thinking. He said, you know, in the past, people, they never had law and order as easily available. Like, it was there, but it was always volatile. So I guess people craved it. They craved kind of law and order and which, quite rightly so, you know, you want to preserve your rights. If you're not careful, your iman might fall out of your pocket. What does Mir Taqi Mir say? He says, Mir ka deen o mazhab poochte ho kya? Like, why do you ask about Deen's religion and his faith? He says, Kashka Kencha. You know, the Hindu mock that. He goes, Kashka Kencha. Der mein baitha. There is a mandir. There mein baitha. Kab ka tarke Islam kiya? He said, I've pulled the thing, I've sat in a temple. I've left Islam a long time ago. Don't get offended by him. He was a legend. Mir was a legend of the Urdu language and called like the Don, called by some a god of the Urdu language. Not in a shirky way, but he was a legend. So don't get offended by him. But you know, these people in the past, they had the security and confidence to say things like this. Because they had I feel, you see, to people that's like, oh my God. See, to me, I see the kind of the silver lining in that. I don't see the cloud, I see the silver lining. That this is, to me, it shows their stability and security within faith. That they can speak like that. Because it takes a lot to be able to speak like that. And I think today we're so worried because we're insecure with our faith. So I think, I'm just saying, because sometimes people, you know, they freak out, and the Urdu poets had it a lot, actually. Even Arab poets had it as well. But you see a lot of this that they challenge, and they're very kind of open in challenging. Sometimes it seems almost like, whoa, they're even challenging God. What does that one poet say? He says, what was that line? He says, "Main tur nahi jo jal jaun." jab chahe muqabil aa jaye. He says, what does he begin? He says, kya tumne bhi humko Musa samjha hai? That do you consider me to be Musa alayhi salam? He says, I'm not the mountain of Tur that I will kind of collapse and crumble. Whenever you want, show yourself to me. But this was the kind of audacity. You see, on one hand, it's seen as audacity that they had in addressing God like that. But on the other hand, it's a kind of confidence that they had and a personal relationship. Right, so, yep, Kashka Kencha, yep, Shukran Abdul Wahab, that's the poem of Mir right there. So, in a way, you can celebrate this kind of confidence. And what's interesting is especially those poets who came before the colonialization, they seem to be very secure like that. Ustad Faraz is in the house. Ahlan wa sahlan, ahlan wa sahlan. People, Faraz doing some awesome grassroots efforts. So if you want to get involved in any of the projects, give him a shout out, inshallah. Mufti, have you heard the term Hanafi hounds, Maliki, meerkats, Shafi sharks, Hanbali horses? No, I haven't actually. Right, let's take another question. I'm from Germany. I've learnt my namaz from the Hanbali madhhab, but I haven't learnt from the Hanbali. There are not a lot of Hanbali translated into Germany. What is your solution? What is my solution? Right, so my solution... my solution is join the school of Medina, the Maliki madhhab. People are going to say, oh, he's proselytizing the Maliki madhhab. But it's just so cool, the Maliki madhhab. I can't help it. Somebody asked a question earlier on that why should you follow madhhab? Because you need a basis. You need to begin somewhere. You need to develop and adopt a particular kind of outlook. And let's face it, most Muslims will never totally preoccupy themselves with the kind of deen like that, in learning the deen. So this is a healthy way to learn secure fiqh with a connected tradition, unbroken chain going right back to the companions and the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, so sorry, I got distracted. I get distracted. Damn. Right, so I was speaking about a discussion that a friend of mine was having with me, and we were speaking about in the past how because there wasn't law and order so easily available, or it wasn't taken for granted, perhaps that is why the ulama of the past were overly concerned with fiqh and law, because that was something that people yearned for, the preservations of rights and structure. And today, I mean, people still yearn for it, and I'm very passionate about fiqh, but today in the world, especially in the developed world, we do have structure and law and order. And, you know, if you want to look at Maslow's hierarchy, we've kind of moved up a bit. So it gives us time to now reflect on things. Okay, and so now people will start going back to kind of philosophical problems and conundrums and things like that. Marriage is one of the most pernicious issues of our age. Is there an argument based on maqasid, benefit versus harm, to permit Muslim marrying men from other traditions? Faraz, wow, what a question. You see, generally, in my understanding, okay, first of all, let me answer the question. I don't think you're going to find many people permitting that at all. I think you'll find some discussion on can Muslim women remain married to non-Muslim men? As in, let's say they converted and things like this. That's the kind of leeway that you will find. But taking a step back, in my understanding, nikah was something which really was permissible between all people, all races, all creeds. In essence. So anybody that wants to just snip that bit and just do another refutation on me. Oh, there's a bloody another refutation came out against me just yesterday. People have such a unhealthy obsession with me, honestly. I'll come to that refutation a bit later on. But so there was another PDF refutation released against me. But so just coming to this point, I don't want people to kind of lose track. I believe in essence when nikah, the concept of nikah was nothing to do with faith in essence. Right. I think in essence nikah is only really just between two human beings. Islam then, I think, in a way superimposed these kind of things about religion and stuff like this, like keep it within the same faith and stuff like this, for several factors. One of them being obviously that there will be less issues naturally when you don't have a conflict in religion, and other things like that. But also because I think the Muslim society needed to excel as well, and it was important even for civilizations to develop. There were certain things about developing a Muslim society. So, and then that's it. Then it just went down that trajectory. So things were no longer allowed with other people. But this is why there was always confusion to some extent on some things. So this is why, first of all, I think saying you can marry Jews and Christians was okay. Because the Muslims in the early days needed to kind of, they were imitating and kind of scaffolding their identity and faith with the people of the book. So it was important to build bonds and ties. So in my understanding, that was one of the reasons that was made permissible. There are other, another reason could be that, well, and that is often offered, is that, well, they share the same profits and stuff like this. That is part of, that ties into my reason in saying that's why they were sharing identity with them, because we had a closer identity to them than we did to, let's say, the mushrikeen, the polytheists. So, and this is why you could eat their meat and stuff like this. And as Islam started to expand, you see the Prophet, as the Persians started to interact, what does the Prophet say in a hadith? He says, "Oh, amilul majus mu'amalat ahlul kitab." That why treat the majus, the Zoroastrians, as you treat the people of the book. So some people started to say, well, that's only for jizya. Other ulama said, no, that was also for marrying. Others said that was for eating their meat. You see, there was this confusion a bit around that. Now, so that's in essence how it is. That said, I do think that religion does end up playing a major role in it doesn't cause conflicts, but it becomes, perhaps it augments certain conflicts when, let me reword this. I feel religion, a difference of religion, when I'm saying religion, a difference of religion would amplify other turbulent conflicts as they arise. So if a couple start to have problems in their relationship, a difference of religion will, in many cases, I feel, maybe not in all, but in many cases I feel it will kind of amplify that massively. And it will probably lead to a lot of problems. As far as I'm aware, I don't know of any ulama that have permitted that outright today. I'm just saying, in the past, you do hear of kings like King Akbar, who married Hindus, from India, from Mughal India, and after him as well, Jahangir, his son, he married also a Hindu woman, and the nikah was done by Maulanas in his time. But people will say, I suppose, they were corrupt Maulanas. But in the past, I think you do have examples of history of rulers or people who were kind of powerful that did do these kind of things, and they did them in an Islamic way, so to speak, and the Maulanas of their time just let them get on with it. In this day and age, you know, I don't think people are going to do it so easily. I mean, you're asking a lot, really, because our bechar, this ummah is too busy caught up on, are we even allowed to have a haircut like this? They're not ready for that level of ijtihad. But if somebody did that kind of ijtihad, you see, I welcome any kind of discussion that is based on something sound. I do welcome it. I don't shy away from it. I don't freak out. And I don't believe we have the right to bully people. I don't believe we have the right to kind of target and persecute people because of different opinions. It's absurd. Honestly, was it just yesterday, or I had a discussion. I'm on a WhatsApp group with, it's an alumni kind of group to do with my madrasa, and that I used to be on with several people, that I used to be at with several people from around the world. And it's interesting that, you see, because a lot of them, or some of the people who are vocal on that group, they disagree naturally with a lot of my views, which is understandable because my views can be quite quite crazy. But so what they try to do, and I see unfortunately a lot of Muslims do this, they try to bully. Like they think that's okay to bully. Like they'll try to, like I had some of them like name calling me and insulting me, and I said on there, I said that, you know, what do you guys think you're doing? And this is like international. They're not even in the UK. And they're grown men, like, you know, grown middle-aged men, like who are imams. And I'm like, I haven't insulted any of you personally. I haven't kind of even targeted you personally. Like, why do you think that's okay to do that? Why do you think it's okay to just try to kind of gang up on me and pick on me or insult me and call me names and call me this, and I'm like this, and I'm this and this, and go so personal just because I disagree with you? Like, let me get this right. Because you disagree with somebody's views, you think it's okay to try to bully them. I mean, not that either of them or both, in this case there were these two specific people, either or both combined sitting in front of me could ever try to bully me. This is just because they're thousands of miles away on a kind of WhatsApp group. But my point is that, look, why do you think it's okay to do that? Like, what is so... and I said this on there, and to be fair, okay, alhamdulillah, they came to their senses, I think. So they kind of felt a bit bad, and okay, and, you know, they kind of apologized, which I accept. I was disappointed that other ulama in the group didn't condemn that. That why, you know, when you're scholars, why do you guys tolerate bullying? I asked people, and I asked this to other people who are Islamic activists as well, or active kind of preachers or things like this, that, you see, what is the difference between you and Islamophobes then? Like, if you think it's okay to bully people once they disagree with you because they have a different opinion or a different belief, like, that's not how beliefs work. Like, we're not in that day and age where you can bully people into beliefs. Like, discuss it with them by all means. Bring your evidences. Maybe you might convince them. Maybe, yeah, no, I'm just saying, by the way, when I said these people are bullying me, it's not that they, like, I'm not joking, like, I was being serious, that in front of me, they would never dare to bully, to try to do these things. But I mean, as an example, they were doing this, like, ganging up and just trolling and going and being very personal. Like if I start attacking you as a person. So my point of this is that when people have different Islamic beliefs or different beliefs, you have to tolerate and accept the diversity. You have to. And that is a part of, one, it is a part of our Islamic strength, but two, for us saying, okay, rant over, right? But it's also it's part of this growth. So okay, let's get to the next question. What was the relationship of Imam Malik to Jafar al-Sadiq? And okay, I've answered this before. I'm not exactly sure what the... I know I have said before that Imam Malik was a contemporary of them, and definitely Imam Jafar al-Sadiq. But he doesn't... I think there may be one or two ahadith he transmits from him, but he doesn't generally transmit his teachings in per se. So I don't know why that wasn't. Was it political? Was it because he disagreed? Or was it he's just busy with other things? Or was it because that wasn't his main teacher? I don't know. Okay, we can speculate, but I don't know. There isn't a clear answer why Imam Malik didn't transmit, or any of the other Imams, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam al-Shafi'i. Why do other Imams not transmit from the Ahlul Bayt Imams? But they just don't seem to. Does that mean there's some hidden fossils that can be unearthed about some political stuff? Maybe, but I mean, I'm not aware of them yet. What were some of the reasons for Imam Malik to prefer Imam Nafi's reading over Qira'at Amma Hafs? Okay, Sahil, Nafi's transmission within the Quran, he transmits like the reading of the Quran, which is still found in parts of North Africa today. So Morocco, Algeria, maybe parts of Tunis, maybe Libya, stuff like that. They have the Qira'ah of Nafi', and there's certain subtleties which vary in dialect, so they don't sometimes read the Hamza so much, and they kind of blend certain things as they read. That's one way to read the Quran. That was actually the dialect of Quraysh. So that's how Quraysh used to speak Arabic. The general Quran style of reading that we have is, in my understanding, the universal standard Arabic that all Arabs would use when they were conversing with one another. So that's why it remained the popular, and why Imam Malik chose Nafi'. One, because Nafi' was in Medina, but two, because it was the dialect of Quraysh. But you don't need to adopt that to kind of feel closer or anything to the Prophet. This is the Quran. This is the standard way of reading. It is widespread. Alhamdulillah, it's awesome the way it is. We don't need to necessarily... I mean, if you read already Nafi', that's great. The variation of reading. But you don't need to feel that that's somehow more closer to God or to the Prophet. That's not true. They are all from the Prophet. Okay. Right, views on people fighting drug addiction, seeking professional help. Islamically, what can be done? It's an interesting question. Islamically, what can be done? I suppose people can find strength in the faith, which can help them overcome. Right, that can help them overcome certain struggles. So sometimes you need to, like, you need faith, like you need to kind of believe in, that you need to know that Allah is watching over you and you can do it. And that too is important sometimes. It makes a person, they can achieve in that sense. Like the saying in Urdu that, what is it? Himmate marda madade khuda, that the determination of men, and with it the power of God. So it's, in a way, it's true that you set foot, and then Allah opens up the ways for you. And as the Prophet said, "I'qilha, tie the camel, fatawakkal, then have faith in God." So I would say that faith can help definitely in doing dua, in becoming preoccupied. But I want that to lead on to another question we've got. Okay, quite a few people is joining in. Ahlan wa sahlan, people. Those of you that have joined in, click like, click share, share the new live feed, get it out there, let other people join in. Click it and post your questions below. I'll get to them. The other question I want it to come to follow on with, which is linked to that, is having problems, as in life problems, having problems whilst being upon the faith, as in firm on the faith. Okay. It's very important that we understand that problems are a part of life. Okay. They are a part of life. Now, that you cannot, there cannot be a problem-free life. There will be struggle. There will be struggles. There will be problems. There will be issues and, unfortunately, maybe tragedies throughout one's life. Right? They will vary between all people. Some people, they may be of a greater intensity, and for other people, they may be of a lesser intensity. Our ability to cope with them will vary too. Our mechanisms and methodology to cope will also vary. Our structures and networks on who we rely on to help us will also vary. So I think, look, the reason I'm saying this is because sometimes some people, they start to pray and then they wonder, why have I still got problems? Because now I'm praying. Okay, first, I never used to pray and okay, I had problems, but now I started praying. So why has God allowed for there to be problems in my life? Look, Allah, it doesn't work that way. Okay, this isn't the contract that you've got with God. Okay, it doesn't work. Look at the Messenger of Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. During his lifetime, he had many struggles. He was the Prophet, the Rahmatan lil Alameen. He was the best of people. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. He was the peak and the pinnacle of human character, and he was the walking, talking Quran. Yet, his life had problems. It's unfortunate when we have problems, but what I'm trying to say is problems are not the measure of your iman. So if you've got an imanometer by which you measure your iman, you can't say, oh look, now my iman's up there, so why have I still got problems? Okay, that's not how it works. And you can't kind of hold God to ransom with that either. So I would say, look, seek out active solutions. Addictions, as an example, seek out medical assistance. Seek out also preoccupation. Because addictions are to do with, they are biological, but they are as much psychological as well. And sometimes the mind needs to become heavily preoccupied with something that becomes so distracting that you almost forget about the addiction. Because otherwise, if you're left to just wander, you want that high. You want to go back on that high. A person wants to be up there, and when they have the crash, they feel that, oh, I need to get... So if they're busy, whether it's work, whether it's learning, change your company. Right? So change your kind of company, because the social cues trigger addictive kind of personality. They trigger the kind of thing. There's actually a very... there's a famous... He's a doctor by the name of Von Stieff, I think. I was actually going through an audiobook of his. It's on the brain and on addiction. If you Google brain and addiction, he's got an excellent book, which I was going through, and he speaks and he gives a lot of advice on from kind of, as he calls them, addictionologists. Okay, so they are like people, and he speaks about neurotransmitters and how to effectively... he has a very successful clinic, apparently. So anyway, that's something. I hope it's of some help. Let's move on to another question. Right. Is watching Dragon Ball Super allowed because it contains many concepts of shirk? Right. So, Faraz Yusuf said, brain in the balance. Okay, that might be it. I've got it on my Audible kind of thing, and I listened to it, but I forgot what it's called now. It's called but if you Google brain and addiction, it should come up. Right, so right now is watching Dragon Ball. I don't know what Dragon Ball Super is actually. I haven't watched it, so I don't know what it is. But I'm assuming, is it a cartoon or something? If it look, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, you can watch it. Relax. Okay. So it's all good. These kind of things they're not haram to watch just because they've got superpowers or something like this. It's a cartoon show. Shukran Sarraj. I thought it sounded like a cartoon. So it's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter if he's a god in it or something like this. That is not shirk to watch. Relax, people. Relax. Relax. Tranquilo, tranquilo. Okay, the thing. So was the wife of Noah around the same age as Noah? Wah! From Qomlom. That's it. I'm not making that up. That is the name. Qomlom. Qomlom. From all the questions that are bothering humanity. Here you've got Brexit. There you've got the Donald Trump administration going on in the world. There's about to be an outbreak of nuclear potential war between North Korea and between the United States, plunging the whole of humanity into annihilation. We've got social media drama at unprecedented heights trying to scandalize scholars. We've got... Qomlom, however, is sitting at home and he's incredibly bothered. Was the wife of Nuh alayhi salam the same age as Nuh? Even Nuh alayhi salam on the Day of Judgment will be like, why was he so... this mashallah, very concerned brother. The thing is, look, I don't know how old Nuh alayhi salam's wife was. I'm just going to be honest with you. They didn't update me on that one. And I don't really think it's too much of... I personally think that Nuh alayhi salam's age, having a very long age, was a kind of miracle of Nuh alayhi salam. I don't believe it defies the laws of nature or physics, because I believe it is possible, and even scientists today are working on and have come up with many ways to kind of extend the longevity of humanity, and they're trying it out on animals. And I mean, worms as an example, they already with now have for a while been able to extend the life of a worm to 6 times its regular lifespan. And so these kind of things, so I feel it is within the realm of nature, but it doesn't normally happen. And as it happened with Nuh alayhi salam, I think it was a miracle. Whether his wife was of that age, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I could just give you an answer. ऐसे ही तुक्का लगा लूं. just blag it. No, I can't blag it. Then there'll be a scandal. Right, so if you find... Oh, damn, see, I was just about... Somebody just said that this is the second week I'm posting this, Mufti. So I was just about to answer it and it closed on me. Maybe that's a sign. It's a sign, people. Right, Ahlul wa Sahlan. Alright, people. Ahlul wa Sahlan. Those of you just joining, if you click like, share the live feed, get it out there, let others join in, and post your questions below. Let me get to them. Come on, people, share out that feed. Let other people join in. You see, this is the thing about goodness. You should kind of like, you should share it out. Get other people. Don't be, don't kind of like be tight-fisted with the khair that comes your way. So, isn't a miracle that which defies the laws of nature? It is. A miracle is that which defies the laws of nature, not which is... You see, things like longevity in age do not defy the laws of nature, because otherwise scientists wouldn't be able to do it right now. but it just seems to be not as common. That's not common, as in it seems to be incredibly rare that somebody can live so long, but it's not impossible. Abdul Basir just says, Abdul Basir it must be, yeah, says, I give up. Don't worry about it. Give up, man. Don't worry about it. Should we eat halal meat only? As opposed to, I'm not sure what that is as opposed to. Should you eat halal meat as opposed to what? You can't eat haram meat. Nope, you can't eat. Can we carry out a burial through Zakat funds for the needy in the UK? Absolutely. Absolutely, Abdul Basir. And shukran for that suggestion. I find that a very noble suggestion. Thank you. I think suggestions like this are what humanity needs. Burials ought to be. I think they're very pricey kind of processes. And where people are struggling, I think Zakat should be utilized to help those who are struggling with funeral costs. And I think that's a noble kind of thing. I never actually ever thought of that. And that's why I'm saying thank you for suggesting that. It's very noble. Right, okay, the Quran only forbids eating 4 things. That's true. Carrion, and so on, that's true. Should we go to eat where there is halal meat only? I'm not sure what that means, Mawish. I mean, you can go to a different place that has non-halal as well, but you as a Muslim would just eat halal, if that answers your question. Sacrificing their own happiness, home makes them happy. Work, home, is a person allowed to go live his own life against the wishes of parents if they feel they are being unreasonable? Fakhri, you should stop wearing those type steroid questions. Steroids, right? Steroids are an issue of legality, not an issue of theology. They are not haram from an Islamic or religious perspective. They are an issue of theology, legality, as in they are maybe illegal and stuff like that. And they can also be dangerous if not used appropriately, or if people don't know what they're doing and stuff like that. So I don't advocate that kind of stuff. No, I'm not on any kind of steroids. And so, but if people are using them, then they should do so with the correct kind of guidance and make sure that they've got all the safety kind of steps and procedures in place. Okay, so don't be careful not to kind of injure yourselves or harm yourselves. That's what I would advise. If you are going to do it anyway, then do it safely. So it's like people who take drugs. I wouldn't advise you to take drugs, but if you are going to take them, then take them sensibly. It's going to be another refutation against me now. Right. Oh, people, I remember there was a question thrown at me. All right. Marriages. Right. No, not the question of marriage thrown at me. I don't mean like that. Another scandal. Yeah, there's scandalous kind of material being thrown about here for free. It's being thrown around like a joke. Right, so, the question was about marriages, the concept, because there was a lot of discussion this last week about things like secret marriages. And I was asked about, are you married? Imran Khan, well, I can't say that. I can't say I'm not flattered by you asking. And I didn't expect it to come from you. Oh my. Why don't you slide into my DMs? Right, so the thing is, the question is, there's a lot of this discussion on social media this last week about secret marriages. So I was asked as well, as many people, that what's the situation on this? So I did say I'll answer on my Facebook Live. So people, since this is very important, some of you just tuning in, I laugh too much. Well, I'd rather laugh too much than the opposite. Right, so the thing is, I'm getting to it. Imran Khan, what do you want me to say? Many a times? Is that what you want me to? Right. So people, if I'd like you to all to kind of click share this feed, get it out there. I want this kind of to go out, let other people benefit with this. You're not angry enough, lol. So if you can get this out, come on. I'm not seeing any, and don't think I can't see when it's not being shared. Like I can see, it's not getting shared. Come on, share it, god damn it. Get this out there. It's a very important question, and I'd like other people to actually benefit as well. So those of you that haven't clicked it, if you can do that, shukran, much appreciated, Imran Khan Sahib. Right, so now this question, because the reason I want to tackle this then is I saw a lot of discussion on this. Now look, I'm going to state certain things, so brace yourselves, okay? This is like, you know, when you're on a flight and they say if it crashes, then you'll hear the words brace, and then just brace yourselves. Assume, what's the safety position? I will always just have my earphones on and I just go to sleep. I don't listen to the... But what is it? It's like... and the whole aeroplane is decimated. It's in pieces. But you're absolutely safe and sound. And they say, well, how did you... And you say, well, oh, me? I went like that. I had the safety position. So, anyway, let's get back to... So, brace. Right, this discussion. Right, secret marriages. God damn. What? It sounds so horrible, doesn't it? These kind of things. Right, now... Right, Islamically, so I'm going to say some stuff which you might kind of, I don't know, might be new to some of you. Look, Islam does not govern. It does not have a totalitarian attitude towards people's lives, contrary to what people may want you to believe. Islam is not totalitarian like that. It is absurd to suggest that Islam places rules on how or why you're allowed to want to approach someone for marriage or to have a relationship. That's silly. You know, you're not like 12 years old, right? The thing is, people are grown adults. Islam respects them as adults. It doesn't expect you to... marriages happen for all kinds of reasons. So they will happen for pragmatic reasons, for stability reasons, for support, for help, for intimacy, for maybe familial kind of, I don't know, bonds, strengthening of family bonds. People will do all kinds, or they will have all kinds of reasons. Islam doesn't govern their reasons. That's like me saying, oh, you're only allowed to have a friend if you're going to be 100% sincere. Otherwise, you're not allowed to have friends. I mean, that's so dumb. What the hell is that? Of course you can have friends. Look, people, when they have friends, they may have motives. We're human beings. Sometimes you may have different motives. You may think, oh yeah, you may think, oh, that guy's so cool, I'll hang about with him. Fair enough. Or you might think, you know what, that person's so connected. I want to chill out with that person, or that person's so successful. I want to chill out with that person. Everybody has motives. We're human beings, for God's sake. So I read somewhere, you know, and there was a lot of this discussion going on. Oh, people can't just marry for things like sex, or they can't just... Of course they can. I mean, they can marry for whatever they want. Like, let people be. Like, you're not here. Nobody's here to kind of, to govern people. Okay. People can marry for whatever reason they want. That's the first point. The second point is Islam does not stipulate, and in fact, we do not actually have a concept in Islam that marriage must be undertaken with the intention of till death do us part. That is a Christian marriage, as Abu Bakr ibn Arabi says in his tafsir of the Quran, in Ahkam al-Quran, that if we said that till death do us part, that would be a Christian marriage. But Islam has no problem with it lasting that long either. So it's not saying that, Islam is not saying, right, it needs to end. It's not saying that it needs to end. It's not saying that it has to reach the end. It's just letting human beings be. It's like friendship. Does Islam say how long you're allowed to have friends? Does Islam say, oh, you're allowed to have friends as long as you have them till you die? I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, people have friends and they fall out of friends. And it's the same thing with relationships. Islam does not govern like that. Okay. So the question here that kind of came up that, okay, so that's the second point. Third point, what if somebody, I mentioned somebody, okay, this got discussed and some people got a bit offended. What if somebody had a premeditated, undisclosed intention of divorce after marriage? So somebody thinks, I'm going to get married and then I'm going to divorce this person. That's not nice, it's not good, but it's not haram in Islam. Okay, it's not haram, and it doesn't invalidate the nikah. Because, you see, to say it will invalidate the nikah, you have to impose the opposite, which is the intention for it to go through, to perpetuate and live on forever. And Islam doesn't have that it doesn't mandate that a relationship must go on forever. And if you say that, well, it doesn't have to go on forever, but it has to go on for a period of time, then what period of time? What period of time becomes sufficient? Now, so because of that, it's absurd to kind of stipulate periods of time. Therefore, if somebody did have that intention, and I know in the past people did this more so, there were travelers and stuff like this, and they would settle, like Ibn Battuta, the famous traveler, wherever he would go, wherever he would stay for a week or 2 weeks, he would always marry in that village, and then when he would leave, he would just leave, and he would divorce. But they had a culture where that was okay. Now, this is not haram in Islam, okay. Now, so that's, just to clarify that. That said, I'm not saying Islam does not advocate that behavior. In fact, I'm not saying people should do things like that. And in all honesty, hardly anybody does that. Hardly anybody does that. So, you see, making a big deal out of this doesn't make any sense. Because out of all the marriages that you're going to get, if you count out all, let's say in the UK, we count out all the nikahs that took place, let's say in the last month or the last year, we count them out. Out of every 1,000, I think you'll struggle to find one that is a secret nikah. Like of this sort, or maybe, okay, you might find one out of 1,000. Most nikahs that take place, they take place as actual nikahs. Let's face it, nikah is such a big deal nowadays amongst Muslims that it costs so much to do it. It's such an undertaking. It becomes families are involved and all this kind of nonsense. Nobody gets married to just say, oh, within 1 hour I'm going to divorce. That doesn't happen like that. I mean, I'm not saying no divorces have ever happened like that, but what I'm trying to say, no, these, by the way, these nikahs that you're saying they're secret, but most of these people, okay, let me tell you, look, majority of the Muslims, outright majority of the Muslims are not practicing Islam, right? They are not, probably I would think at least 80, maybe even 90% of Muslims do not practice Islam like that. At least 80%, they do not pray, they do not do stuff like this. The vast majority of Muslims, like especially of these that don't practice Islam, look, I'm going to be honest with you, if they want to have sex, they're going to have sex. They're not going to really care about stuff like this. I'm just being honest with you. I'm just having an open, honest conversation. Let's not be super ideal. Let's just be honest. Look, I'm not a judgmental person. Somebody could come to me and tell me anything. I would not judge them. Okay. Because of that, I have several people, they come to me, tell me their issues and their problems sometimes. I don't judge them. I can tell you that, look, these things are very common. Okay, so if a regular person, and it's more common in males than females, so the females may be more reserved, but it's still not uncommon, put it like that. I'm just being honest, but with men, with Muslim males, those who ain't practicing, I would think the outright absolute majority, absolute categorical, like normal males, regardless Muslim, non-Muslim, Muslims are no different, right? Those who are not practicing, out of men, I would probably think 8 or 9 out of 10 just sleep around. If they want sex, they just have sex. They don't care like this. I'm just being honest. With women, I think it's far less, but it's still a substantial amount. It's not like 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10. It's still substantial that if they want to, they will just sleep around. It doesn't, they don't sleep around like in a, I don't mean in a slutty way, but I mean it in a way like if they're in a relationship or they like somebody and they wanted to have, I think it's less, significantly less than the males, but it's still there and it's significant. So it's not about, you know, they're not thinking. Now you're coming to the small minority of people who are practicing Muslims. Out of them, only a small amount will go through this hardship to have a secret nikah. Not all of them are doing this. Out of them, some of them may go, because to do a nikah, most people don't know how to do a nikah. So they need to find a mulvi, they need to find a maulana, they need to do this, they need to do. Let's just be honest. This is what they need to do. A lot of them don't know any maulanas that will do it. They're too embarrassed to ask. They're too kind of... so it happens really. It does happen. Or I'll tell you where this happens. It happens in those cases where a guy and a girl are already sleeping with each other for so long that they decide to, look, since we're doing this anyway, why don't we just give it some kind of a nikah format? This is how it tends to... In my awareness, this is how it's... Where it happens, it may happen like this. Now, right, listen, I'm not discussing sin right now. I'm just describing society as it is. Okay, I'm just describing it as it is. So the reason I'm saying this is this thing of secret nikahs, like there's some kind of pandemic. They're not. Right? People are not going around having secret nikah. Yes, they're going around sleeping around, but they're not having secret nikah, so we don't need to create this sensationalism around secret, dirty nikahs. They're like, if 1 out of 1,000, what percentage is that? I mean, you tell me, exactly, this is negligible. It's not like something to make a big deal, like the way people turned this into an internet sensation over the last week. It was discussed on so many forums, and it's not like that. So that's what I wanted to clarify, okay. The next thing I wanted to say, low commitment nikahs. Okay, these probably happen more than secret nikahs, or they could be linked as well to, so secret nikahs could be low commitment nikahs, or low commitment nikahs don't need to be secret nikahs, but they are low commitment. So if a person was to say that, oh, like let's say for example, a woman was, I don't know, she was independent, had her own thing, her own lifestyle, she had her own career, she's interested in companionship, but she doesn't really want her husband always around. So she got married to somebody in a kind of distant, they've got a low commitment relationship. So that I suppose they meet up, they might go on holidays, they might go out on dates, they might do stuff, have sexual intimacy, but they're not around like a full-on kind of like a normal, what you might see as an average family. This is considered a low commitment nikah. Okay, like I'm calling it low commitment. People might call it misyar or other things, right? So or in the words of Eric Erickson, low commitment, high exploration. He was a social psychologist. He wasn't talking about this, by the way. But so now this low commitment nikah is not haram. Okay, Islam doesn't govern people like that. People just do whatever they want to do. If somebody wants a relationship like this, it's their life. If they don't want a relationship like this, it's their life. If they want one that's full on, fine. If they want one like this, it's fine. It's not like Islam isn't going to tell you you have to be like this, you have to be like this, you have to be like this. Okay, so just to clarify these points, okay, so I just wanted to put that out there because a lot of people were asking me these kind of things and I was seeing them being discussed on other forums. And in all honesty, most marriages that happen, overwhelmingly, over 99% of all nikahs that take place, generally, they have so much invested in them that they are actually hoping for them to be long-term. That is how reality is. Okay? So, I'm just explaining that, okay? So, let people be, let human beings just be. This is the reason. And you know, sometimes people say things like, oh, this is another point worth adding here. That people say, oh, but you know, women, you know, like girls, be careful. You know, girls, be like this, be like, you know, be weird. Like, guys are like wolves. Which I suppose in a way, guys are. I always say that men are just dogs as it is. I just put it out there as a real statement. But on this point, look, I wanted to add as a valuable point that, look, you know, being realistic, these kind of low commitment things and stuff like this, wherever they're undertaken, sometimes it's not just, I know obviously you think that it's always for the men, sometimes they may be better for women too. So it's not like, you don't need to be so judgmental about how people have relationships, because they could be better for women. Sometimes there's many cases where women are sometimes divorced, got their own children, they don't want more family, they don't even want, you get many of these women don't even want a man around, they don't want a man around, but they don't mind companionship. So it's not, you know, and that's their choice, it's their life. So it's not, this isn't just a mono-tracked kind of thing. And when I read some of these things online and the way they make out all, I say anyway, all men are, you know, but the way they make it out like all men are just out there doing this and all Muslim men are just predators and all Muslim men, I just feel that's a bit unfair, that's all. Anyway, let's get to the next question. I hope you're going to address the ethics in terms of character, honesty and integrity and not harming others. These things aren't haram based on human psyche. Is really doable, and can people in today's world engage in such a way, abuse of something that isn't haram? Hina Khalid. Right. Alright. You see, look, what honesty, integrity. Right, that's true. But look, let's face it. Every human being is in it for themselves. Let's just be honest. Since you're speaking about honesty, let's have an honest, open, transparent conversation online here. And this is with all of you online. Let's just be open. Look, every human being is self-driven. Anybody who tells you otherwise is at best delusional or just lying and misleading you. We are all self-driven. Make no mistake about that. We're just driven to different things, that's all. So when you say, let's always be honest, what is that supposed to mean? Like sometimes some kind of honesty you can't say in society. It's not about, you know, oh, you should always... Like, let's just say, I'm just being honest. Let's be honest. If somebody was ugly and they say, oh, how do I look? You're not going to say, you look ugly. God, you're so ugly. You wouldn't say that. I mean, what happened to honesty, integrity, what happened to truthfulness, and what happened to... Or somebody says, what do you think of me? You're not going to say, I think you're a beep, 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 because you do think those things. You're not going to be honest, because in the real world, in some things, you can't be honest. You have to be diplomatic. Look, people have different things out of relationships. So when a guy, let's face it, like, let's say a guy, somebody asked a question here about, they just asked it further up about going to Pakistan and marrying. Now, look, you could go to a poorer country, and as a guy, I'm just saying, and you could have a lineup of beautiful women. because you have an advantage position. You have stability. Like you're coming from the UK, let's say. You got a red passport. So now you could have a lineup of beautiful women. Now, obviously, a person isn't going to say, like if they're having a conversation, well, what do you want out of this conversation? Oh, well, me. Oh, let's be honest. I just want mind-blowing, you know. That's not how the conversation's going to work, is it? Like, people ain't honest like that, because that kind of honesty is brutal. That kind of honesty never happens amongst human beings. And it's not meant to happen. You know, so when you say, let's be honest, yes, let's be honest, but you can't. So a woman would say, for example, let's say a woman sees a guy who's successful, or he's got money, or he's got whatever, he's made, a nice house, whatever, stability. She's not going to say, well, oh yeah, I'd really like to be in a relationship with you because, you know, I just like the money that you've got. That's not going to happen. So, but it's okay. You know, we don't need to freak out. This is how the world works. It's okay. You know, just roll with it. You're part of the world. But deception, you see, conning people is wrong. I agree that conning people, like ruining people, or kind of like deceiving people, like open deceit to con them out of something, is haram. So that I agree with. That I would support. But when it comes to why you want a relationship with somebody and why they want it back with you, there will always be human interactions. I hope that's of some help. Let's move on to another question. Whew, god damn. So, right, other questions, people. Yeah, and nobody's going to say, I just want a passport. Exactly, that's my point. And I get that. I have, you know, like I'm just saying, if somebody went abroad and the other person's looking for a passport, I think there's nothing wrong in that. Because they're only looking out for themselves. Right, they're only looking out for themselves. Right, okay, now I'm taking some questions. Noor Taha. Feel free, if you've got any questions, post them. Let's see. If you've just joined, if you can like and share the live feed. Salam. A friend of mine doesn't believe in a hadith, as they say this was documented after the Prophet passed away. Hadith, and it's been transmitted. Errors could have occurred, unlike the Quran. Okay, Nazli, that's a good question. I think the question is that, do we accept hadith? Should we accept hadith? I think we should. Hadith, there has been an excellent job done in the preservation of hadith studies. However, it is not infallible. Okay, it is not infallible, but it is excellent. Right, so Adam's asked a good question. I'll just come to that in a moment. Okay, now, right, so the thing is that there has been an excellent job done in the preservation of hadith, but it's not infallible, and the problem comes when we kind of ascribe infallibility to it and start saying every single hadith that meets Sahih must be, you must accept it, otherwise you're a deviant, this. Yeah. Right, this is a good question there by Tony. Let me get to that. So, okay, so just to explain this part, okay, so the hadith, it has been, and I think Ibn Jawzi said it best when he said a hadith can be rejected if it contradicts reason, or if it contradicts transmission of the Quran, or if it contradicts the fundamental principles of Islam. Okay, so these three things. Right, Fatima saying, am I allowed to buy a pet pug? I have no idea what a pug is. I don't know what a pug is. Perhaps you can buy one. It's history, not... Right, so let's... Some of those questions, I'm forgetting them already. Right, what is the difference between what I said about marriage and mut'ah? Mut'ah was... You see... Mut'ah is simply... my understanding is mut'ah had no conditions whatsoever. And it was just very clear and self-terminating. So the marriage in this sense that I said is not self-terminating, and it has conditions. So it has things like you would have, as long as whatever takes place within your marital life, there will be rights that bind you both. There will be things like, I'm just saying, like inheritance laws would apply, child laws would apply, you would need witnesses, you would still meet the full measure. In mut'ah, my understanding is there was nothing, and so it was just guy and a girl. It's basically, my understanding is, I don't want to kind of make it sound, but I don't want to come off too kind of derogatory, but it was, it's just saying, look, okay, I'll give you this, but we're going to be together for the next 2 hours. How does that sound? And then I can quickly make it to the gym. Right, so so it's like that. So it had a set time and then it terminated. So you didn't have a choice in that. It would self-terminate. Now, in a nikah, the contract doesn't self-terminate. So let's just say, as an example, let's say you got married to somebody and you weren't so much up for it. Let's say you thought that, okay, and this happens, unfortunately, in many parts of the world, they might marry somebody to just take revenge and stuff like this. It happens in a lot of countries like Pakistan. So people might marry into a family to kind of take revenge from that family and stuff like this, which I think is utterly disgusting, but this kind of stuff does happen. Now, it might be that somebody gets married, or they get married with the intention, I'm just going to divorce this person after, let's say, the next day. But when you meet with the person and hook up, the chemistry is so awesome. Right? See, this is the magic of oxytocin in the brain, people. It works wonders. People they swing into hippie mode. It's all about peace and love, and at that stage, so it could be that, you see, when you connect so powerfully with somebody, you think, wow, like, hell no, I don't ever want to leave this person. So this is what I'm saying. There is a big difference between something self-terminating without any choice. You don't get a choice in the matter. And it has no rights. So that was the difference. Next question by Tony. Oh, I thought it said Tony Soprano then. Tony Cipriani. That what is the case about wanting for yourself what you want for others? Yeah, this is an ideal that Islam has given us to aim for, to promote things like, altruism, altruistic behavior. But it's, in essence, every human being will always want for themselves. There's nothing wrong in that either. You see, there's a difference in greed and being self-centered. Like, I think we are all self-centered, but not wanting others to have things is the problem. You see, I want to chill, but I don't mind if you chill too. I want to be happy, and I've got no problem in you being happy. You be happy too. That is the motto and the philosophy. When people start saying, I want to be happy, but I want to see other people suffering, that is wrong. Okay. So that is the difference. Does stillness in salah that mean that we have to be still, millimetric like a robot? Van Damme. All right. Van Damme has asked me the question. All right. No, it does not mean that. You can move naturally within salah. That's fine. Am I allowed? Is 7th century khimar closer to today's hijab, which is strictly used to cover hair, closer to subcontinent's dupatta, which is used to cover hair too, but not strictly for that purpose? It's an interesting question, Abdul Rahim. I think the khimar in essence was a hair product, if you like, if I can use the word product, or it was a clothing, a head clothing, let's put it like that. It was head gear. How was it utilized is the question. So, as an example, one could ask, a scarf is neck gear, but how is it utilized? Maybe people wear it on the shoulder. Like I'm just saying, that's an example. Now, I think the women generally didn't wear it like a dupatta. I don't think, like the way the Indo-Pak women wear a dupatta, I don't think they wore it like that, in my understanding. I think the way they wore it was that they would tie it like a long bandana. That's my understanding of what I've read so far. I mean, I haven't specialized on the topic or anything, but my understanding is they would tie it like a long bandana and it would just hang down really long like that. And you have to remember, Arabia was a very dusty, kind of sandy society. There would be a lot of these kind of things. There would be sandstorms, stuff like this. So even men would travel like that with the niqab and stuff like this. But when the women dresses would just have a long slit, that would have a long kind of like a, it would reveal kind of cleavage and stuff like this, the way they wore their normal dresses. So they didn't have things like buttons back then. So obviously, if they're just dressed like that, and if they're moving around and everything, you could see right through. So this is why the Quran said, bring that forward and kind of cover this. So that was what the Quran primarily addresses. Technically speaking, the Quran doesn't address the covering of the hair directly, but it could be kind of inferred through that, but it's not directly addressing that. And the term hijab never meant what it means today, and this is a very modern usage of this term hijab. And in my understanding, it's only, I think, it's probably since the last century or since like colonial times that the term hijab, even throughout the Arab world, has started to mean this. Otherwise, hijab never meant that. And I think that's interesting from a discourse analysis perspective. Right, okay, next. If you were never raised by your parents with love and affection, is it wrong for the child to have no connections with his her parents? Kamran Mirza. Right, the thing is that I drink so much Pepsi Max, man, but I've cut down now a lot of it. Why is it that the things that are bad for you are so good to you? Like they feel so good in life. Why is that, huh? That's the real true conundrum of life. How did that work? Because if all you had to do in life was, I don't know, just avoid being a hermit and just don't eat cauliflower, it's awesome. But anyway, let's get a pit bull. Somebody's asking. It's a dog. Time box. Don't forget that refutation. You're keeping me awake for. Oh right. Oh okay. I'll come to the refutation. Yep, oxytocin. All right. Sorry, I'd realized the comments had frozen. I'm just moving them up. Yep, that's true. Somebody's asking, is it true that because of the Prophet's marriage to Zainab, adopted kids are not equal? No, not because of that, Ahmed. The Prophet married Zainab to demonstrate that you can't treat non-children as, like the Arabs had an unnecessary taboo. She's Mufti, is that true that the Prophet's married? Okay. You advise on living life to keep oneself happy if it means going against the parents. You see, I think that's an interesting question. You can go against your parents' wishes. It's not that you can't. And let's face it, a lot of parents sometimes are disastrous in their kind of upbringing or dealing with. And when I say parents, I mean especially the first generation. Maybe the parents nowadays are a lot more in tune. In fact, I think a lot of second generation parents, Muslim parents, properly spoil their children, I think. I mean, I'm just as much to blame. But when I look back at our parents, the first generation to the UK, and every, like my friends and that kind of our peers, I think they were a nightmare in terms of the kind of methodology that they used to bring kids up. They just kind of they just tortured the hell out of us, and we somehow survived. And it was one of those, well, if you can survive that, you can survive anything. Wah, wah. Kya baat, kya baat, kya baat. It's like, you see, if you can, that's, you know, it's like, what was that? There was that kind of comedy movie, Dodgeball or something, where the guy chucks a wrench at him, a spanner, and it hits the guy in the head. And he says, well, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. It's as simple as that. So I think our parents kind of brought us up in a way that, well, this is the worst that you can ever get hit with in life. Let me just beat the hell out of you and torture you like mad. And if you can survive this, you can survive everything. And so, hence we survived. So, I think as you grow older and you become independent, you can have that kind of respect towards your parents, and you ought to. And to be honest with you, I do believe. You see, this is the thing. Some things are difficult to explain, but they're just a belief. I do believe that by kind of being very helpful to your parents, by supporting them, especially in an older age. I don't mean as a kid, obviously. I mean, if you're a grown adult, a grown man, a grown woman, I feel that it is true that there's kind of like, so if you support them, as an example, whatever you're supporting them in, there will be an abundance, and it's difficult to explain how, but I feel this is experiential, I guess, and I can't argue for it beyond that, but that there will be an abundance of barakah coming back to you. So I do believe that, like, if you financially help your parents, that Allah will open the floodgates to you. You will see, you know, like, financial opportunities coming your way. You'll see all kinds of things coming from other. Maybe you can't draw a kind of rational link between them because they could just be coincidental. But I suppose you will see that happening. I'm serious. I actually personally feel this, and so that if you know, sometimes you're feeling, you know what, oh, like, yeah, let me help them with something, and you might be like, damn, but I'm struggling. Let's just say you think I'm struggling, and you might think, no, let me help them. And then all of a sudden, let's say what you had, you'll get 10 times, 15 times that all of a sudden through some one way or another. And I feel that these things they are coincidental. I do accept that, but I feel that this is the kind of barakah of serving and helping your parents in that way. So I do definitely advise, if you can, to be very helpful, especially in older age, as opposed to, I mean, when you're young, you know, it's like, I suppose you're, I suppose maybe they're still young as well, whilst you're young. As you get older and they're getting older, then I think that's an opportunity for you to kind of do something, and you'll see in turn, you'll see that Allah will in turn treat you like that. And I don't mean in a calmer way, but I mean in a way that open up, you know, barakah towards you, whatever barakah you may understand it to mean. But if life is very difficult, if they have made your life a misery and you can't come to terms with that, then I do feel you are excused in not maintaining those ties. I feel that you can do that, although if it's possible, then maybe maintain at least some link. But if you didn't, I would understand. And I think the Sharia does understand that. Okay? Right, so, right now, next question, people. Okay, so there's been, let me get to this refutation. Somebody said there's, right, okay. Alright, pay attention, people. What the hell? So there's been another refutation. Mufti, is Al-Azhar the most orthodox? Right, it is one of the orthodox kind of institutions. Right, now, okay. Somebody released another article yesterday against some answers that I've given previously on things like the signs before the apocalypse. signs before the Day of Judgment, the end of times. So these include things like the Mahdi. These include things like the second coming of Isa alayhi salam and stuff like this. Now, let me explain. So somebody's written a whole refutation once again, saying, oh look, this guy's lost the plot, which I can't argue with. I probably have lost the plot. And they're saying that, look, this guy's kind of, look, he's going against all of this and that and blah, blah, blah. But let me explain. Okay, look, I'm going to try to be as fair as possible. If we're going to be really fair, we must admit that, look, the concept of the Mahdi has not really been proven through any clear Sahih Sarih Hadith. But I'm going to be fair, just listen, hear me out, because I haven't finished at this point. Isa alayhi salam coming again does appear in several Sahih Hadith, and the Dajjal. Now, that said, most Muslims do, although the Mahdi isn't mentioned in any of the early Aqidah texts or anything like this, and some early scholars, not early but middle-ish kind of scholars like Ibn Khaldun did problematize the concept of the Mahdi and felt that we may have inherited it from the Shia. But otherwise, most Muslims, I'm going to be fair, most Muslims generally adopted these three things as beliefs. That there will be a Messiah towards the end of time, there will be, Jesus will come again, and there will be these kind of things. They did accept this. I'm not denying any of these things. I'm not denying this as a kind of descriptive phenomenon, that most Muslims did accept this. Not just Muslims, even Jews and Christians, they had very similar kind of beliefs. The Jews still await a Messiah. The Christians believe in an Antichrist. They believe in the Christ. Muslims had some confusion that, is Jesus supposed to be the Mahdi or is there another Mahdi? Now what's happened is, almost within the last 200 years, some scholars have started to re-examine this chapter, this whole section. And they took a very deep analytical kind of view at these things. And they began with, like, Mufti, he was a great Mufti of Egypt, Muhammad Abdul, in the 1800s, who kind of looks into this, and he kind of comes up with his understanding that this is not actually authentic, that this is not true. He is succeeded by his student, who is the Shaykh al-Azhar, who is the famous, attributes himself as the Salafi scholar, Rashid Rida, a Salafi, who concluded with the same ijtihad. He wrote in his tafsir, he expands on this, that this is not actually true. And Muslims seem to have taken these concepts in early times. This seems to, the Mahdi one they may have taken, they felt, from maybe the Shia or this general understanding of a Messiah. And the Jesus second coming, they felt there was some misunderstanding, or not misunderstanding, but the narrations, the Sahih Hadith, most likely were Israeliyat, that means from Jews and Christians, that got misrepresented as Islamic sources. And then people carried them on. And there are, by the way, other examples of stuff like this, where it does happen like that. Although not to do with Jesus, but in other examples where scholars will say, yes, this is a Sahih Hadith in Bukhari or Muslim, but most likely it's from the Israeliyat. So as an example, there's a hadith where the Prophet is saying, on the Monday God made this, on the Tuesday he made this, and it's like a spitting image of a verse out of the book of Genesis in the Bible. So many scholars in the past, Ibn Taymiyyah, this, that, all these people said that this is not, I don't care what you say, Mazari and other people, that this is not from the Sunnah, although it says the Prophet transmitted it, but this has been most likely mixed up from the Israeliyat. So Rashid Rida concluded with the same ijtihad. Right, now, then there was, after him, another great scholar of Al-Azhar, the Shaykh al-Azhar, Mustafa al-Maraghi. He follows this research up with his ijtihad, and he concludes with the same ijtihad. that this is not accurate, that this is a belief which it's not actually true and it doesn't stand its weight. Or through reason, through the overall understanding of Islam, why is such a thing not mentioned in the Quran? Why is, it no longer becomes faith, it becomes empirical data that you see Jesus coming down, stuff like this. He's then followed by another great Shaykh al-Azhar, one of the grand Shaykh of al-Azhar after him, who is Shaykh Shaltut. Right, Shaykh Mahmud Shaltut. Now, Shaykh Shaltut does his research and he concludes with the same conclusion. He says that, look, these things are not authentic. As in some have authentic isnad, but they don't make sense. And he adds to it, and he adds further more detail, and he says, look, this doesn't make sense, and that doesn't make sense, and if Jesus doesn't, and what's this about killing pigs and doing this, and all of these hadiths seem to be very anti, kind of like, he'll kill Jews, and very anti-Jewish, which doesn't seem to be the trend of early Islam. And so this is this is Shaykh Shaltut. Now, Alaykum salam, ahlan wa sahlan, right, those of you just tuning in, right, like, share, and post your questions, inshallah, I'll come to them. He's then followed by the great Sheikh of Misr in the last century, Abu Zahra, who's an absolute legend and an ocean, who does his research and concludes with the same conclusion, that these things are not found. And he actually writes a book detailing that how did these Sahih Hadith then come into the Muslim tradition? Because the Mahdi was easy to answer, but this wasn't. And he concludes with the same thing. Meanwhile, people like Ibn Ashur, who is the great legend of Islam of the last century, he puts in his book Tahqiqat wa Anzar fil Quran wa Sunnah, he quotes in there, he has a section dedicated to the Mahdi where he problematizes the ahadith around the Mahdi. And then he says, look, all of these things to do with the end of times, the Ashratu Sa'a, contrary to what people before have said, he says that these are really nothing to do with Aqidah. They are not a matter of faith. They are Ma'arif Islamiyah, Islamic information. If you want to believe in it, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. That is Ibn Ashur, who is the Grand Mufti of the Malikiyah, and he was titled with Shaykh al-Islam in the 20th century. So, and he has a 30-volume tafsir on the Quran. It's up there, Tahrir wa Tanweer. So look, my understanding is in line with them. I'm not saying that you have to believe in what I'm saying. Of course not. I'm not saying Muslims never believed in Jesus coming again and there being a Messiah and there being this kind. They did. I accept that. But I also feel that we live in an age where there must be, once again, we need to have a critical, like not in a negative sense, but certain concepts need to be reviewed critically. We need to evaluate them with a fresh lens, in order for the faith to stand a chance in the 21st century. Because these concepts, in my understanding, will tear, like the faith won't be able to stand. Like when, you see, like you trying to say this today, that, oh, this is my belief, that I believe Jesus will just come out of the sky and everybody will just watch him and he'll come here and then what's he going to do? He's going to kill pigs. Like, why on earth is he going to kill pigs? That makes absolutely zero sense, why he's going to kill pigs. But he's going to kill all the pigs all of a sudden on earth. And then he's going to kill Jews. Like, I don't know why on earth he's going to kill Jews, but he's going to kill Jews then. And it's interesting. And so I just find this whole thing no longer Iman then. It's empirical data. And if something that amazing was going to happen, like a man descending from the sky, then why didn't God mention it in the Quran? So that's my purpose of saying, that's my purpose in this refutation. So somebody's written a refutation trying to show me and show people that, look, that all these scholars have said this before. I'm not denying that they haven't said that. I feel that certain things can be reviewed with a fresh lens. Okay, and this is from them, and I am in line with this way of thinking. I feel that people, like Ibn Ashur said, that this is not a matter of Aqidah. You can believe it to be a matter of Aqidah, but I don't. And this ties into what I was saying earlier on. You can't start kind of forcing or bullying your beliefs onto other people. You have to recognize this is within the Sunni tradition. I have only quoted Sunni scholars. I've quoted Sunni scholars who are Salafi, who are Maliki, who are Hanafi, I've only quoted, and Mashayikh of Al-Azhar, the Sheikh of Zaytuna. I've only quoted the great Sunni institutes, okay? I'm not influenced by Shia or whatever and stuff like this, so that's irrelevant, okay? Just to kind of clarify. Whew, all right. Go on then, shall we take a few questions as a rapid round? Let's have a rapid round, people. Rapid round of questions. What's going down? What's going down? Somebody had asked me a question. Let me just see if I can find it. Are you really a Mufti? I'm afraid so. All right. Are you allowed to have a puppy? Yeah, you're allowed to have a puppy. That's absolutely fine. You can have animals. There's no harm in having animals. You know, having them in the home, I believe you can have animals in the home. The only difference is in the past, I think when the Prophet said it, Imam Mazari in his commentary, because the Maliki madhhab, the school of Medina, says all animals, all humans, all life necessitates purity. So every living thing is pure. Even a pig is pure. It's not impure according to the school of Medina and Imam Malik. A dog is not impure according to the Maliki madhhab. That said, because many Muslims do have an aversion to things like dogs, and they feel that they're impure, so you might want to be wary, especially if you have Muslims coming to your house and stuff like this. It may cause matters. It may cause kind of issues. Combining prayers without having an excuse. Combining prayers without having an excuse. I've answered this before, that if things create ease, when we say excuse, there should be some reasoning, but some scholars of the past, like the great student of Imam Malik, Ashhab, he did teach that, in line with the hadith in Sahih Muslim of Ibn Abbas, that the Prophet did allow people to combine Dhuhr and Asr and Maghrib and Isha to create convenience, to avoid inconvenience. To avoid inconvenience. So it shouldn't become a habit, but if you're going to be inconvenienced, you can do it. That was also the madhhab of Ibn Sirin, and some other ulama along the way took that understanding as well. I know somebody in the past tried to refute me on this as well, but look, this is a clear hadith which is in Sahih Muslim. Okay, that Ibn Abbas was given a speech and somebody tried to interrupt him because Maghrib time was going, and he said to him, shut up and watch yourself. Alright, know your place. He finished his own speech. The time of Isha had come in. He got down, and then they combined Isha and Maghrib, and he said, this is how the Messenger of Allah taught us. He combined prayers. He taught us so as to avoid inconvenience. Right, is kosher meat more halal than machine slaughter? I've answered that before. I don't think it's more halal, no. I think both are halal. If it's not impure, why should we wash the bowl from which a dog has drank 7 times? Adam, the Malikiya have answered that in many different perspectives. My understanding is that it was because of, and Imam Mazari kind of says this without naming the disease, it was because most likely that the dogs had rabies, but they had some kind of disease in the time, so the Prophet said that. To wash the bowl 7 times, many of the madhabs don't accept that anyway. The Hanafi madhab does not stipulate 7 times. I would say what that means is just wash it for hygiene purposes. Okay. Why do all madhabs have different prayers? Did the Prophet pray in different ways? Yes, the Prophet prayed his salah with different actions, and the other madhabs have inherited that. Fatima is off to the pet shop. Ya salam. Awesome, awesome. What do you think about euthanasia? I answered this last time. I gave a detailed discussion on it. I would love and welcome the discussion on euthanasia. I would feel that I would like to think that maybe Islam does have scope for stuff like this, but I would welcome the scholars to come forward and have a discussion on this. Unfortunately, we can't, we're too busy with other things. Is the length of the beard mentioned in any hadith? No, it isn't. There's no such thing where the Prophet stipulated a length for the beard. The closest you get is Ibn Umar saying, I saw the Prophet do this. رَأَيْتُ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ يَفْعَلُ هَكَذَا, and he trimmed after this, but that could have been just because it was the custom of the people at the time. Will we be reunited with our pets in Jannah? Perhaps, why not? Why not, huh? Why not? Excessive laughter kills the heart. That كثرة الضحك تميت القلب is a weak hadith. It's not even as strong as my weakest laughter. That's the line to say. It's not even as strong as my weakest laughter. Right, it's a weak hadith. Right, people, I'm going to have to wrap up. I think my iPad's dying anyway, and we've done over 2 hours. Those of you on Facebook, people, if you haven't liked my page, like it. Both of my pages, the public, and follow me on my private as well. So both pages, I post on different ones sometimes. Shukran Faroza. Shukran, I'm honored. Tasharraft. Right, so the thing is, do like both of them. If you've got any questions, message me. I do try to get back to people. If you're on, almost accidentally said WhatsApp. If you're on Snapchat, यार खाम खा स्कैंडल हो जाएगा यार. मैं करूँ तो साला character ढीला है. That's the thing, right? So if you're on Snapchat, you can add me Malm 2014 MALM 2014. Send me your questions. I'll try to get back to you. Twitter, same handle, Mufti Abu Layth. Other than that, people, remember me in your du'as. Don't forget your daily dosage of laughter. Trust me, it's one of the things you will thoroughly enjoy in this life, and that is taking the time out to laugh. Remember me in your kind du'as. Take very good care of yourselves, and I'll see you all next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.